Today we are celebrating the first World Day of the Poor. Pope Francis has sent us a letter, a message for the celebration. It's about 5 pages. I'm not going to read it, don't worry. But I would like to invite you to Google it. The first World Day of the Poor by Pope Francis. Make a copy and analyze it. It has a lot of rich material inside it. How about us as the Vincentian family and this message and our history? Yesterday I went into Bishop John O'Shea and the things that he did, and he inspired me, and he was working in China for 30 years without returning to the States. We have a lot of good testimony, a good witness of serving the poor. Today, I would like to just mention 1 or 2 things in the letter and then try to explain another aspect of this. Pope Francis has emphasized empty words, no. Concrete deeds, yes. To do something concrete for the poor, to help them. And that there are 2 pillars. God loved us first, and he loved us by giving completely of himself, even to laying down his life. The poor also lay down their lives and are victims of many abuses. There's a group of Vincentians, especially from Holland, but also from France and Austria, who were working in China, in Chengding. I visited there several times. Chengding. And the bishop was there working with the people. It was during the time, this is before Pearl Harbor. But the fight really began many years before in China. And many people were dispossessed. They were out of their homes because of the war. And many of them came to our center in Chengding in order to take refuge. And Bishop Schraven brought them in, and there were usually 1,000 living around the property. And at that time, there were 2,000 more who were refugees because of the war. And the Japanese were coming down and arriving in Chengding. At one point, the officer came to the Vincentian house there in Chengding and ordered Bishop Schraven to give him 200 women of the refugees to be comfort women for the soldiers. And Bishop Schraven said, "You could take things, but we're not giving you any person." The soldiers left. Later on that night, they returned and captured Bishop Schraven, 4 Vincentian priests, 2 Vincentian brothers, and also a Trappist and a person who was fixing the organ at that time in the church. And they took them out. Nobody knew where they were for quite a few weeks. We found out that they were shot and burned. Why? Because they were protecting the women there. Thank goodness at least none of the women were abused, none were brought to the soldiers there. But it was a great problem for the people, and the Vincentians stood firm in protecting the rights of the poor, the rights of the abandoned, the rights of those who were refugees is very important. Different moments, we need to stand up and protect life, protect people. 2 months later, the soldiers got down to Nanjing. I'm not too sure if any of you heard of the rape of Nanjing or the massacre of Nanjing. Some people even say that there were 300,000 persons who died in the city by the Japanese army at that time, invading and killing many Chinese. That was all the situation, and for the Vincentians, at least they saved some people in Chengding, although they could not do much in Nanjing. In Nanjing, there was a group of Westerners, about 10, who organized a safe place where many of the Chinese could go, and it was international, and therefore they were protected. So they saved many, many people. Life is very important. Abuses should not play a role in persons' lives. And it's very important for Vincentians because we stood up for the poor and even giving our lives. Bishop Stravin and the others were killed. I've gone there several times to that area. The Chinese government put up a monument in honor of the Vincentians because of what they did, because of their support of the Chinese women. But what about now? What are the difficulties that the poor are facing now? The many, they say that might be 300,000 that were killed in Nanjing, but how many are being killed now by abortion? Sometimes we think of way out there, okay, yes, that was bad, but what about now with many children being aborted and killed? What is the response, our response as Vincentians, as Catholics? Let us ask ourselves, what can we do to help to protect life of the unborn? And how can we help those who might have had an abortion? Getting very concrete, that many times that happens, and the people reflecting on that situation feel very down because they realize what they have done. The Catholic Church goes out to try to help them, those who have had an abortion. There's a website called Project Racial. Check it in the internet. It's a website of several people, many who have had an abortion and are struggling to overcome the trauma of that. And they're trying to help those who are trying to overcome it also, extending the hand to the poor of those who have crossed the line in order to bring them back to God. God wants to forgive. And this is one way that God forgives, through Project Racial. So what I would like you to do is to check that on the internet also. And also pray that we may have more respect for life, the unborn, the born, so that we can help all people come closer. The interesting thing of this Bishop Stravin, with the others, have been beginning the process of being beatified. It's the first step that they're trying to do. But they're presenting Bishop Shravan, he's proposed as the patron of abuse victims. So if you know anybody who needs help, pray to Bishop Shravan so that Bishop Shravan, through his intercession with the Lord, may help them overcome the abuse or not fall into the abuse around us. This is something concrete we can do on the day of the poor, because many times it's the poor who are abused, not just the poor, but especially the poor. My brothers and sisters, let us ask the Lord in silence now as I pray. Lord, Mary, our mother, gave birth to Jesus, and we ask you, Lord and Mary, to help all those who might be thinking of not fulfilling their role as mothers by cutting short the life of the child, that they may realize that if Mary had done that, we would not have been forgiven. Christ would not have been born. We ask you, Father, and Jesus, and Mary, that all may have a deep respect for life on this day of the poor. May God bless you.